So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, hey, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
It's easy feeling so long to keep. But they get by a minute into force. Oh, I didn't notice it's all getting full. But only with caffeine patches, sliding caffeine. I didn't think it'd ever come to a stop.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me, Tamarijuana. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. It's a beautiful day out in the East Kootenays. We got some blue skies, and I don't know, it's been a pretty good morning already. I want to thank everybody for their birthday wishes. It's been overwhelming how many I'm getting, and I really appreciate that. It really made my day, because I'm like first year in 13 years without my husband for Valentine's Day and my birthday. So thank you very much for everybody for making me feel special. I really appreciate that. This morning, I have my lovely friend Cindy Heemerycky with me. Everybody knows Cindy. She works with Dana Larson, and they are now on to their Overgrow campaign once again this year, as well as they've just started promoting their new product for MJ Creams, which is called Lust. So good morning, Cindy. Well, how's your Valentine's Day going this morning?
Hi, Tamara. Thanks for having me on, and a special happy birthday to you today.
Thanks.
Here, we got a jump load of snow last night in Vancouver, so what a way to wake up this morning to a bright white morning.
Oh, really? It's yeah. I actually seen a few pictures coming out of Vancouver. It's really not very common to have much snow out there, is it?
Well, we hadn't had any snow this winter, anything that's not up on the high mountaintops anyways, so it was quite shocking to see it actually sticking to the ground late last night, and it carried on into the early morning hours, and there you have it. We have probably some crazy roads out there this morning. I'm not sure, but you know those drivers.
Yeah, and you're not going to jump in that truck too quickly and start going out there either, are you? Mind you, that truck would probably handle a lot better than most anybody else out there.
We thought about last night loading up the dogs and going out 4x4 and last night when there's no one on the road. That's the most fun time to do it.
Exactly. Well, we've got a fair bit of snow still out here. It's been actually quite chilly, but you know, we were always fighting with our highway contractor out here. That's been my other project, and it was quite of a zinger yesterday. I had a day from hell, but that's another topic anyway. Right. So you guys are off packaging seeds right now, aren't you?
Oh my gosh, we're up to our elbows in seeds once again this year. This is the third year for Overgrow Canada. Probably the biggest year by far. We had 6 buckets of seeds come in this year, and we've sorted them. We're working on getting orders out. I believe we've shipped out about half of what has been ordered already, so that would equal somewhere in the range of 5,000 to 6,000 orders. Seed orders packages have gone out already, and we're going to continue working diligently with our volunteers to get the rest of the next 5,000 to 6,000 out in the next few weeks.
Wow, that's incredible.
Daunting.
Yeah, but how many people are like that? 6,000 people that are getting a package of seeds they can throw out anywhere in Canada, and that's the whole point of this project, and has been for 3 years, is to overgrow the government, right?
Absolutely, and we've had some beautiful photos come in. People are doing what we've asked them to do with their plants. They're putting them in public places. They're setting them out in City Hall, police departments, fire halls, everywhere they can think of that has a public garden that they can transplant their beautiful little babies into.
Absolutely.
And send them into us. And if you go to overgrowcanada.ca and look at some of the photos that people have sent, from across the country, it is enough to make you smile day after day.
Absolutely. I know after the first Global Marijuana March we did back in 2008 in Lethbridge, that was in May. By the end of June, there was little sprouts popping everywhere, all over in every little garden and in the Lethbridge City Hall planters and stuff. And the news got in touch with me and said, "Hey, Tamara, did you?" I said, "I'm not admitting to anything." You know what I mean? Like, I'm not taking credit, but yeah, we might have, thrown some stuff out there. I was actually, when I was in Vancouver in December, I was able to get an Overgrow T-shirt from you, and I'm actually wearing it today.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm wearing it today. You betcha.
Your size left over, which was so nice for me to be able to give that to you.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I'm wearing it today, and I've got my seeds ready to go into the gardens as well, because City Hall, pardon me, here has no real lawn. It's just like the City Hall, and then there's some planters out front, and we plan on taking those out here in the next week or so. Because, well, probably not quite in the next week. Probably not for another 6 weeks with all the frickin' snow.
Yeah.
I was thinking, we should be able to go out there, but no, it'll be a while before we can put them out. But I've got a few packs here that I plan on throwing out, and we've also got a nice little park in the middle of downtown. But that's the dilemma too. Like, we'd like to do more things here as far as marches and rallies and that type of stuff. But when you live in a smaller town like I do, and downtown, right in the center of town, is Rotary Park. And it's a children's park. There's a splash park in there. And of course, there's the synagogue in there. And it's a block away from City Hall. But really, for appropriation, I guess is how you want to put it, not to be around the kids, which, that's an iffy kind of like, yeah, I think what pissed me off the most is there's a fire hall right across from our little park. And at one point in time, we thought, hey, that would be a really great vapor lounge. It's right next to the RCMP. It would be great. There would have dispensary and have no issues there. But of course, the city said, no, it's right by a park. Guess what they're putting in there now? Now it's going to be the fire hall, bar, and grill. Not kidding you. So they're putting a bar and grill in that fire hall, rather, which is, as far as I'm concerned, no different than a cannabis dispensary. In fact, I think it's worse because, the park's across the street, but yet they, want to keep it away from the children, right? But it's okay for it to be alcohol by the children. Frustrating.
We hear that a lot.
Frustrating, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
It is. And now with legalization coming and everything kind of moving forward, with, the BC government saying we can have private stores, but everything's still going to be going through the LBD. How's that going to affect you guys at the coast?
Yeah, the future is uncertain at this time, right? I mean, I'm more than happy that John Horgan has followed through on what he told us he was going to do, that he's making a market for craft growers. And also, I mean, there's still some more details to iron out, but I do believe we're going to have one of the best legalization platforms that are going to be coming from across the country. I think you would agree with me there.
Yeah, I think BC's got it right. I think Alberta, actually, to be honest with you, might be the next one that is actually looking at things because of their private system already.
Yeah, Alberta is really opening up their market for private investors, right, to take part.
Yeah. Well, I know Delcar finally got a building bought here in Cranbrook. So we have a licensed production finally going in here. They applied for their Health Canada licensing, I think it was in 2014. They've just bought the building here in town to get started for production. So there's still another, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years off actually being in production. So, on that being said, with everything moving forward, things are going to change. And I'm not sure that, that licensed production site might be as successful as it was prior. But then again, I don't know what's going to happen. There's so much speculation as to licensed production, craft growing now, what's going to go on with the smaller, people that want to produce. My concern would also be the fact of cost. You hear the fact that Vancouver licensing, was it $30,000 a year for a business license out there?
That is for a licensed cannabis dispensary, yeah, if you're one of the 13 or 14 that are approved at this time.
Right.
we still tentatively think that this year, possibly next year, that the licensing scheme may not be in place anymore with the new government election coming up, provincial government election in November. Things could change drastically in Vancouver if Vision is taken over, by a different group in City Hall.
Right.
Because
Right.
Mayor Gregor Robertson has said he's not going to run again. He's the leader of the Vision Party, so that indicates to us that there's going to be room for newcomers and some shifting at City Hall later this year.
Right. I did hear that.
In mind, yes, and keeping those things in mind, any party that comes in to manage the city of Vancouver could ultimately change the policies and procedures. The $30,000 could be out the window, right? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen later this year, and also in July, August, when they do legalize Canada-wide. We don't know the implications of how it's going to affect the city of Vancouver and their licensing, et cetera.
Right, because everything's going to be put basically federally across the board, but then it's going to go basically provincial and then into a municipal, or the municipalities will have choices as to whether they're going to allow for dispensaries, whether they're going to allow for growing. And I think that's Quebec has already said they're not going to allow home growing. Was it Saskatchewan? I'm trying to think. I think there was another province that was looking at not letting people do home cultivation, which I'm not understanding how they're going to be able to police that. Because in reality, when the rest of the country is growing, that's a lot of law enforcement going to try to enforce people trying to grow for plants. So that's something that I think is, why the police are looking at the overage of how much more money they're going to need in their budgets, is because they feel that they're going to have to be policing that.
Isn't that silly how legalization is going to require more policing than we already have, and more enforcement of all these driving laws that they're going to impose on us? And, I think they're screwed. Yourself included, right? I mean, our vehicles could be impounded for upwards of 90 days if we're
absolutely
stop.
And the worst part about it, I think, Cindy, is because we're out in the public eye, we've made ourselves known to law enforcement and to everybody, that we'd be targeted. Because of the fact that when I leave my house and I jump in my truck, the Cranbrook RCMP are well aware that I'm licensed for medical cannabis. And if they see me leave my house, they just might think that I've, should be pulled over for absolutely no reason. So this in itself, especially for some of us that have been out in the public eye now for the last 10 years, we're going to be the ones they're looking at, without a doubt. And I know in BC, though, you can actually take a driver's test. And I had Richard Kudra on my show a few months ago, and he explained that you can go into the ICBC hearing in BC and request a test to be taken for your medication. And you write down medical cannabis on the form, and the driving instructor doesn't know what you're testing for. That you could be testing for morphine, you could be testing for any other pharmaceutical painkiller or cannabis. And if you pass that test with the use of cannabis written on that form, they have to pass you. And then that form gives you the legality to be able to drive using your medical cannabis. So that's something that I learned. I'm not saying that I've gone out and walked into the ICBC and demanded that I get another driving test, because of course that costs everybody money too. But that's something that patients in British Columbia might not be aware of. And I know that Richard is somebody that if you need to contact him, he's more than willing to help people understand how this law works. And you can reach him on Facebook. So there is some hope, I guess, if that's the way you want to look at it. There is some hope for us. Maybe not so much for everybody, but there is some hope in British Columbia anyways, if you are using cannabis for medical.
Well, that's the first time I've ever heard of that. And I think it would be difficult for new drivers to, especially try to claim that they're cannabis users under the L and the N program. You know what I mean? For new drivers, I think that would be very, very difficult because
Right.
tolerance is 0%, right? At
Right.
those levels of, yeah. So
Absolutely.
I don't know about that.
Absolutely. Well, it's the same in Alberta. They have a graduated driver's license too. It's basically a cash cow. I think on both provincial governments level, where you have to have a GDL for Alberta for 2 years, and you have to go and pay to drive the driver's license again. And if you don't pass, you got to pay till you do pass. And it's $155 plus taxes out there too, because they do charge you taxes on your driving stuff in Alberta. So that because we've been through that. We kind of understand or get the concept of how the GDL licensing works in Alberta. When we moved here, they didn't give either one of us L or an N because we had our driver's licenses for so long. They were kind enough to give me my old driver's license number back from 20 years ago, and then send me a bill for MSP for $1,500. That was my welcome to BC.
Yeah.
MSP, that's paying for your health care, which is something in Alberta we weren't doing, right?
Right. Well, I guess as far as I know, the premier here has reduced healthcare costs, right? That was one of
in half. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They reduced them January 1st to half, and then apparently by 2021 they're supposed to be getting rid of them completely. So that's a good sign as progressive for healthcare, because let's face it, like
I have to
healthcare is ridiculous cost, right? So another little thing, you were just at Taboo last weekend.
Oh yes, that was 2 weeks ago, and that was my first time at the Taboo Sexpo, we called it. It was at the convention center, at the old convention center in Vancouver that had the sales part, so it's actually in Canada Place.
Oh, nice.
It has the sails for the roof. I don't know if you've ever been in there, but it's really astonishing to see the interior of the building. I don't think I've ever been in there before either. Anyways, it was quite the sight to see all kinds of people showing their sexuality openly. I actually expected it to be over the top a little more than it was. There was a lot less fetish type groups or people around that I thought I would see there, but it was really well controlled. There was a lot of great entertainment, a lot of good booze, very interesting talks with Dr. Jess. What's her name?
Oh, nice.
But yeah, we fit right in with this kind of group at their trade show. We had a nice little booth set up, and we sold a lot of our new product called Lust. I'd be happy to talk about that, how wonderful of a product it is that we've created and added to our menu at MJ Creams. So it joins in the line. It has only 2 ingredients in it, which is organic hemp seed oil and cannabis, THC, right? So it doesn't get any purer than that.
No, absolutely not.
And it's safe to ingest. It's safe to use on all parts of your body. The only thing we recommend that you don't use is a latex condom with it, but hopefully that's not necessary in your relationships, right? That you can explore and enjoy our new product openly.
That's excellent. It's always something, to add to a new product, because MJ Creams has got quite a large menu, actually. I can't even tell you how many of them I've used. Pretty much all of them, I think. I've tried them all. Yeah, because you sent me all of them, and I've tried them all, and it's a terrific product. In fact, I've got patients that, say the pain cream really helps them. And that's one that I recommend to people a lot is the pain, and is the calm as well. I really like the calm. So there are, and then the lip balms, and like I said, there's quite a variety of things that you guys offer.
Yeah, so it was easy for it to jump right up and into our lineup, and we've chosen, it's a dark color. It's almost a dark burgundy, and gold is the color for this product, the packaging. So we were all dressed up. We had matching shirts at the convention as well, and we were quite popular. We weren't the only cannabis-infused booth there. There was one of our competitors there as well. But that's that's the way it goes in those kind of trade show atmosphere things. They've asked us
Absolutely.
to join the circuit. I don't know if we're able to travel all across Canada. Like every month they have other taboo shows. They've invited us to join them, but we'll just take it show by show, sort of
Excellent.
thing. And,
That's awesome.
yeah, we'll probably
That's
be a
awesome.
pop-up across the country again once, maybe twice more this year.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to have to take a quick break right now. We'll come back and talk more about what you guys are going to be doing as far as the tour as well for Overgrow Canada. So again,
Yes.
I'd like to thank my sponsors who are 12 High Chicks Magazine with the Mum Cup coming up February 23rd, 24th, and 25th in Vancouver. You can get a hold of Asia or May Moon and get tickets from her at 12highchicks.com. Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners, Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, and the Haley Rose Foundation. We'll be right back with Bobby Frick, 420 Local.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
I can't smoke pot till I can't even wear my earring. Sick and tired of people telling me what I can and cannot do. Guess I'll just pack up my guitar and move to Music City. Starve to death like most starving artists do. I can smoke all the pot that I want in my old 420 Local. If I want, I can even wear an earring in my nose. No longer matters how I vote, or even if I want to. No longer matters how I wear my hair or my clothes. Don't hog that, man. Pass it on. You wouldn't even thought about it. Hurry up. Hey, don't hog it. We need to stand what you're doing. Heck yeah, pass it. I can smoke all the pot that I want in my old 420 Local. Willie Nelson would kick your ass for smoking that much. If I want, I can even wear an earring in my nose. Don't bogart, pass it on, pass it on. No longer matters how I vote, or even if I want to. No longer matters how I wear my hair or my clothes. No longer matters how I vote, or even if I want to. No longer matters how I wear my hair or my clothes.
And we're back with Cindy. We're talking a little bit before the break about the Taboo convention that they were just at and their introduction of their new product called Lust. And for Valentine's Day, that's not a bad, topic to be on, about the fact that it's all THC hemp oil, can be used in every part of your body, and they've been invited to keep going with that. And that's awesome, Cindy, that that they do these taboos all across the country, and you guys can pop up, say, on your Overgrow tour. You might be able to slide that in somewhere, right?
Well, unfortunately, Tamara, the Overgrow tour is not going to happen in March and April this year. Like we had, I'd be up to my eyeballs in planning the tour right now if that was the case. But I'm actually taking this time off right now. I'm working on 420. I'm on the committee this year, so we're trying to improve 420 as best we can. So that is my big focus, besides getting all these seeds out in the mail. We are planning a tour later on in the year this year, probably in the summer, which we think will be much better to drive across the country. And, you know, it's always in the spring and it's always cold and there's always challenges and things, right? So,
and you have to drive in a blizzard.
Yes. And, you know, it's not enjoyable, let's say, right? You know, you're in Ontario or you're in Nova Scotia and it's March or April and it's still winter in these places, right? As we know. So we have decided that this year we're going to do the tour differently, and it's probably going to take place in late August, and we're going to have different people join us on the tour, and it's going to be more of a understanding legalization tour and what to do next, right, with this legalization. And so Dana's busy planning, you know, his new speeches and different things that he wants to present to people across the country.
That's
so
excellent.
Give them a little more time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I think that is a good idea, because a lot of times, like you said, you know, the weather holds you guys back. You're driving in bad roads and you know, and when it's cold, people don't come out. Like, you know, we're in the summertime and better venues, because then you can have outdoor venues where people can actually just go into a park and set them up. And here we go. Because I know I tried to get you guys in here last year, and Cranbrook just wasn't wanting me to have a venue. And this year I've reached out to a few people, and I've already kind of like tentatively would have a venue set up. So we'll discuss that once we're off the air and figure out how you're going to get out here too, because we'd like to have you guys here.
Sure. Yeah.
And Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. And where did you guys actually went, like pretty much coast to coast last year?
We did. Last year was the greatest time. We actually split the tour up into 3 sections. So we were able to do more of the country last year. We started in March and going to Edmonton. I drove from Vancouver to Edmonton, and we hit the Cannabis Hemp Expo there in March, and was kind of the kickoff to the tour. And we did a small bit through Alberta and back into BC. And then we did a second section, which included the whole entire island. So that was our coast, our west coast. And then the main tour started on the east coast in St. John's, Newfoundland. So we actually went coast to coast, like within that week. And that's how we brought it all back from the east coast to the west coast last year. And it worked out really well that way, because the year before we went from the west to the east. And it's always difficult when you're chasing the time zones too. You're behind it. It's better to be in front of them than behind them. Right?
Absolutely. Exactly.
So you live and learn. Like with these tours, I learned a lot. And, you know, we did the same cities, or pretty much the same cities both years. So this year we'll try to include different cities on the tour, maybe some smaller size, medium cities that we weren't able to get to last time.
Yeah. And I mean, the bigger cities always bring out more people, but, you know, it's harder sometimes to get a venue for them too, right? Especially, you know, if you have a crowd of 200 people, like, you know, it's hard to stuff that many people into a restaurant. And, you know, and that's the thing, like Dana does, you know, pull quite a crowd, which apparently he's going to be doing some live talking on the Friday evening at Mom Cup. I'm getting some.
He is.
I'm getting some word.
Come up with a new talk now, so he's busy working on that. It is going to be a cannabis and sex talk, because Friday night is an adult-only entertainment of the Mom Cup. So we're looking forward to that. It's only 2 weeks away. Not even.
I know. Yeah, the 23rd. I know who she says to me yesterday, do you want to come out? I'm like, oh, I want to. I really want to come out, but my you know, this house is, you know, with all the, you know, I can't just leave. I wish I could just put a big, you know, padlock on it and walk away, but unfortunately there's living, breathing creatures in this house that can't have anybody not here. But you never know. I haven't said no yet. I haven't said no yet. I have one other option. I'm going to phone my mother and see if I can't make arrangements somehow, because I'd hate to miss out. I know.
I'm here to help you.
I know. I love that thought. I had such a good time with you when I was out there in December. Cindy was such a great hostess. She let me stay on her couch. She took me out showed me the city. Like, it was just fabulous. So yeah, thank you again so much for your hospitality. I can't wait to come back and spend more time with you. It would be so much fun. Because like I said, Vancouver is so fun. Like, I don't know if people that don't get out there, but I mean, not just about the cannabis part of it. Like, I mean, we were at Stanley Park, and it was cold. Like, let me tell you, people, we were standing on the beach picking shells. But my son,
it's a great memory to end the year last year. I totally enjoyed having you here, and you're welcome back anytime.
You know, my son, I showed him the pictures of us picking those seeds, or picking the shells and stuff off the beach. And he has those in a bowl beside his bed because there was sand, there was a log, there were shells. Taven was just elated that he got this stuff brought home. And I showed him the pictures of you picking them for him. I says, look, Cindy was picking them right off the beach for you. Yeah. But it's fun. And we did have a great time. And like I said, that was the legalization roundtables. And now that we're heading into, middle of February, and we're hearing that their consultations were done January the 20th, and now they're pushing forward with the legislation. How are you feeling about that?
Well, I think you being at the roundtable was a great indication that you were keeping them in line, and you and Kirk Tusaw and some of the other guests that were there were keeping them in line, so they were not getting off on a tangent about something that didn't need to be brought up, right? So thank goodness you guys were there. I know our premier, like I said, did follow through on what he told us he was going to do, and I'm still hopeful, right, that legalization isn't going to be a costly measure, and it's not going to separate the medical patients from the rec patients or the rec users. Because as far as I'm concerned, all cannabis use is medicinal.
I do too. I know. I think that's something that a message that should be, being spread across the country. That even if you use cannabis just to feel better when you get home from work and you need to relax, that's medicinal use. And I know a lot of people, say, well, I like to go home and have a beer, and a lot of people like to go home and smoke a joint. And that's been a catalyst for many years where people have to worry about drug testing. So they're going to go home and they're going to consume alcohol rather than something that's safer for them, being cannabis, because of the residuals that stay in their bloodstream. Now, out here, we have a mine, lots of mines, and Tech Industries was taken to court for civil liberties as to human rights, as to the drug testing policies that they had at Tech, which meant that they had pre-employment drug testing, as well as they could randomly drug test the mine workers at any time. They could be driving up on the road on the bus, and the drug testing little bus would come along, and even the bus driver that doesn't work specifically in the mine would be drug tested randomly whenever they felt like it. Now, the union has taken Tech to court, and they won. So now Tech Industries can no longer randomly drug test. They can pre-employ drug test, but they cannot drug test unless there's an incident. And that's the way it is in the oil patch too, people. I think people all believe that, in the oil patch it's like zero tolerance too. It is zero tolerance. But the oil patch has also made it so it's pre-employment drug testing, and only if there's an incident do they actually go after the employers or the employees.
Right.
So, and Alvin right now is in a camp where there's zero tolerance for anything. And he's licensed for medical cannabis, but he had to leave everything behind because they have dogs that run through this camp in Conklin. And it's a very nice camp. It's well taken care of. It's got a mall, he says, like it's got an arcade and a weight gym and everything else. And they've got security. But because of the oil company that runs it, it's like zero tolerance. So there's no alcohol or drugs allowed on that site. So, and that's good because let's face it. I mean, they're working hard, and that's heavy equipment operating, no matter how you look at it. So you want people to be on their on their best when they're working in that heavy equipment, I'll tell you. I don't want my husband having some roughneck out there that's hungover even, because being hungover can cause you to not be on your best, And I think people don't understand that they drink the night before, they overindulge, they get up the next morning, you will still probably possibly blow positive for alcohol. So, because it takes 24 hours for that to get out of your system as well. So if you're hungover, you're not at your best either.
No, absolutely. And that's what impairment is. Like, in my opinion, is people are tired all the time, or, you know, they didn't get enough sleep, or they're having a reaction to some medication that they're on, or, you know, like there's always some sort of impairment, right? And to include cannabis or compare cannabis to those kind of impairment of being tired all the time, or, you know, that's what's going to get us in trouble with this testing in the future, right? I mean,
I know.
I think, right? Because what are they testing? If they can't test your blood or your saliva or your actual inside of your body, they can only test on the outside what they see, right?
Right.
So, I mean, like,
I agree.
There's not going to be an appropriate impairment test, let's say. There never is going to be one for cannabis.
No, because I think everybody's impairment level with cannabis is individual, is how I feel with cannabis, because it does affect everybody differently. Like, I mean, I can smoke 10 joints, walk out of the house, and you wouldn't even know that I'd smoked one, where my counterpart might have smoked along with me, and their eyes are all red, bloodshot. They, you know,
Correct.
they're giggling and laughing and having a different reaction to how the cannabis affects them. And I think that's what I mean. You're right, though. The impairment of cannabis is going to be really difficult, because and that's my fear too, how many people are going to end up losing their vehicles for 90 days, clogging up the courts for impaired driving, when in factuality, there's not going to be an impairment there. Just because you smoked a joint 2 hours prior to jumping behind the wheel of the car doesn't necessarily mean you're impaired, but somebody else could possibly be impaired. So it's a really individual thing when it comes to cannabis. Same with your strains, right? Different strains, different ways.
The laws are going to be challenged, right? They're going to be challenged by Kirk and Rob Laurie and several other lawyers, known cannabis lawyers across the country, right? It's only going to be probably within a week or two of legalization, the first court cases are going to be filed.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not going to take long. And then there's going to be charter challenges, and it's going to continue for years to come, and it's just going to stack up, right? It's going to be incredible. Like, the way that they think they're going to need more police with legalization is just insane.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that either. I don't understand like how they figure that they need more, when in factuality they're not enforcing a lot of the laws right now for cannabis because of legalization coming forward. You know, a lot of the RCMP will, you know, small amounts, just, you know, throw it out, and, you know, they look kind of the other way. And that's not a bad thing. And I think because we're going to be able to possess 30 grams, that's just a little bit over an ounce. I don't know how they're going to plan on, you know, enforcing. I don't know. Like I said, it's going to be interesting, if nothing else.
So as far as I know, you're a medical user, you're still allowed your 150 grams, as far as I know, right? That's how it's going to carry on.
Well, I'm allowed to have 10 grams, but I'm allowed only, like, here's the thing, though. I'm allowed 10 grams per day medically. I can travel with 150 grams. Correct. But if I'm recreational, I will then be allowed to have 30 grams of marijuana on me a day, because there's no limit, right? You can have 30 grams a day. They're not saying you have to have 30 grams a month, 30 grams every 2 days, 30 grams per day. So as a recreational user,
if you and I packed up the truck and decided to go on a trip for even 5 to 7 days in our own province, let's say we're not even leaving BC. Let's just say you and I, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure, because, I mean, I'd be a medical, so I'd be allowed to have my 150, but you'd only be allowed to have 30. But then you could go buy 30 the next day in Kelowna, and we could stop in Vernon and buy another 30 grams the next day, and I'd still only be allowed my 150. But you'd be allowed to have 30 per, right? So, and that's, I think, where a lot of the doctors, too, are seeing the reasoning as to why they're not signing these licensings anymore, is because of the fact that, you know, you're only allowed 10 grams per day, but somebody recreational will be able to go buy 30. So, and reality, recreational users will be able to have higher prescriptions in, per day than a doctor would actually prescribe you if you're allowed 30 grams. And on that note, we have to take another quick break, but we'll come back and talk about that. I know, sorry. So again, I'd like to thank my sponsors who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society, the Haley Rose Foundation, and the Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana. We'll be right back with the salads, weed and wine. What a good combo.
The girl of your dreams has got to be in some bar.
Sorry, boys and girls, but this is X-rated. So if you're under 18...
Get out, goddammit! Get the point good.
And now?
Bend over.
Y'all ready for this?
Get it down. Get it down. I can't wait anymore.
I like to watch. Whatever you desire. I know you'll like it. Do it.
We do it all night long.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
We're back with Cindy, and we were discussing, apparently there's being raids in Hamilton right now. So the police are not letting up. And I mean, Ontario's government has basically come out and said that they're not going to allow for private dispensaries to run, that it's only going to be through their LCBO. So I guess they're taking it pretty seriously because they're out there raiding, I guess, in Hamilton, Ontario right now again, people. So that's disheartening. I don't understand what is wrong with the law enforcement out there, or with the Wynne government, I guess, if that's how you want to put it. But
well,
so we were talking.
I'm headed to Ontario tomorrow.
Oh,
so, I'm sure their laws will be a topic of conversation. We're headed to the NDP convention, starts on Friday. So
excellent.
Yeah, I've been elected as a delegate to go represent my riding here in Vancouver.
Good
so
for you,
I'm
Cindy.
excited. It's
Absolutely.
not my first time to a NDP convention, and I did meet Jagmeet in the fall last year at the provincial NDP convention. He came here, so we met him here. So I'm looking forward to maybe getting up to the mic. I didn't at the last convention. It's a big, scary thing, right? I mean, there's over 1,000 people in the room, and there's plenty of people that like to get up to the mic and hear themselves speak, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If I get the courage, I'm going to. I mean, if there's a bill, or not a bill, but an issue that we're talking about and it's cannabis related and it needs some input from me, then I will get up to the microphone this weekend.
Absolutely. That's great, Cindy. I'm so glad you guys are getting to go to that. I know we went to Dana was with me at the Liberal Convention too in 2014. Dana came out to that one as well. And we didn't get an opportunity to really speak or anything, but you're right. It's a lot of people. It's scary. There's so many people from all over the country, just compiled in one area. It's a bit scary.
Well, and cannabis is certainly going to be a hot topic at this year's convention, I would imagine. So that's why we're going because
absolutely,
Dana is wonderful. When he gets up to the mic, people know him in the party. They know his reputation, and they respect his opinion, right? So that's what I'm looking forward to is having the opportunity to talk about issues on the convention floor.
Absolutely. And speaking of issues, we were talking a little bit over the break as well of Neil Magnuson and his substitution program and how the Vancouver City Police shut him down yesterday.
Well, unfortunately, he's moved into a different kind of mandate to gain awareness of the CSP, we call it, Cannabis Substitution Program. I also volunteer there when I can, but they have so many volunteers now that I usually let other people do the work. But it's great fun to see the joy that people get when they receive their care packages from us. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it's every Saturday at Bandu, but in the meantime, Neil has joined the 420 Market folks that work, or I guess you call it work, protest down at the Robson Square.
Right.
So they were removed, as you probably know, a couple of weeks ago from there and have not returned. As far as I know, like I've driven by there a few times and have not seen anyone there since.
Wow.
So there was court cases yesterday, and I don't know how those turned out. Maybe you could see something on Facebook or something. But some of the people that were busted originally went to court yesterday. Their first appearances, I'm assuming.
Uh-huh.
It was,
yeah.
So nothing was probably done yet, but at least they had a bunch of people that were supporting them, protesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if Neil was part of that. But yeah, the CSP has actually grown to different cities. Victoria is one of them. And also in the interior, in Vernon, they're also trying to get a cannabis substitution program launched there.
That's awesome. I think there should be one in every town across this country. Because let's face it, there's addicts and there's fentanyl in every corner of this country right now. Every corner. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're on the reserve, whether you're here, whether you're in a population of 700 people. Oxycontin is being laced with fentanyl, and it's everywhere. In fact, I read yesterday that the new testing strips that have been brought out by the BC, I think, Physicians Association was warning that just because those testing strips are out doesn't necessarily mean that they're working for everything. And it doesn't stop an overdose. And that's the hardest thing to deal with, the fact that some people use cannabis recreational, some people use cocaine recreationally. I'm not disputing that happens. And if somebody goes out on a weekend and just wants to grab a little bit of, white powder, they have to be so careful. Like it's such a deterrent now. I would feel that even in my younger days, when I dabbled a little bit, right at this point, there would be no way in hell that I would ever stick that stuff in my face, just for fear of dying. And that's the worst part about it. Now, Jerry Martin's another subject that we were going to talk about too, because Jerry's a past dispensary owner out in Saskatoon, or not Saskatoon, it was in Whitewater, Saskatchewan, was it not?
Yeah.
And he was busted after many, he put a lot of money towards that community. He was very involved in that community, and they busted him. And now he's got a fundraiser going. So talk a little bit about that, Cindy.
Oh, yeah, we're working on that. Jerry's a good friend. Does a lot for people, very compassionate person. If you've ever hung out with Jerry, just going down the street with him is comical completely, because he's constantly pulling money out of his pocket and handing it to folks and wishing them the best, and he's just so wonderful that way, right? And so it's our turn to give back to Jerry Martin on March 10th. There's going to be a fundraiser. It's going to be at Karuna, and I believe that Karuna's on West 4th in Vancouver, and it's going to be full of fun and games and dabs and giveaways and door prizes, and all kinds of great things are going to happen that night. And we're going to auction off a lot of things that have been donated, and the donation list continues. Right now we're just bringing in as much stuff as we can. We have some Bob High photos. We have some ounces of dabs, of delicious tasting shatter. He's got half a pound of weed has been donated. All kinds of things are still continuing to come in.
That's
it's going to be
excellent.
An exciting night. It's a Saturday
now,
night.
If you're not able to get to the fundraiser, is there any way that our listeners can donate to Jerry's cause without actually having to be there?
Well, I think they're working on broadcasting live from there. That's not my forte, but I think someone is working on that. So we'll be able to do it on Facebook or some other way, and people would actually be able to take part in the auction that way, right? If they see something that they're interested in, we could probably take phone calls, right? Bids, things like that. I think we're going to be working on those kinds of avenues to include as many people as possible, because probably a lot of his old customers that were in Saskatchewan, they're the ones that know how well or how much he donated over the years, right? Those are the people that are really going to want to help Jerry out.
Absolutely.
I think. He's got a charter challenge coming up. He's got a brand new lawyer now that's going to be helping him trying to get all his property back that they seized from him.
Mm-hmm.
CRCMP, they took all his vehicles, his home, his business.
Wow. And they're citing it as proceeds of crime, right? And that's the worst part about it, is because of the gray area that runs along with any dispensary owner. These people are out there on the front lines, you guys. They're taking their freedom into their own hands and basically risking their freedom for you to be able to get your medicine. So if you're out there today in any of the dispensaries, thank your bud tender today, because they're risking their freedom for you. And that's it. Like, I mean, even in Vancouver, like, there are, the ones that have the variances that are allowed to run legally within, the Vancouver perimeters. But even the ones that are running outside that perimeter aren't, under that protection. And there's, ones that are running in Toronto, and there's ones that run in Nova Scotia. And there's, like we heard about a home invasion last week out in Nova Scotia with Chris Enns and Jess James. Like, how horrific is that? So you have to understand, these people aren't just putting their freedom, they also have risk of robbery. And that's something else that we're hearing that's happening quite readily in the downer, in the Toronto area, that masked men are coming in and robbing dispensaries. Now, we all know that that's a risk. Even with a liquor store, that that's a risk that you take. But come on, people. We're peaceful cannabis users. There's no need for violence. Like, come on.
No.
So that's so disheartening. And that's, like I said, between the home invasions and the robberies and the police coming in and raiding, that's a huge risk people take. And people have asked me, like, why haven't you got a dispensary, Tamara? I have a son I'm not saying anything else. I have an 8-year-old. And it's not that I don't want to be out there on the front lines. Believe me, if I didn't have that little man, I'd be out there fighting right along the next, right beside the bartenders. But I have my priority. And it's it's not unfortunate. It's just that's just the way it is for me. So there are other options that, you can do within the legal realms of things that we do. And I think with legalization coming too, I think that is exciting for me. Just because I would like to have a lounge. I'd like to have somewhere safe for people to be able to come and consume cannabis and have fun and enjoy the community that goes along with cannabis. And I think along the way, we've lost that. We've lost our sense of community. We've lost our sense of belonging, and we've lost our sense of camaraderie because of competition. This isn't a competition either, you guys. We all love the plant. And I think the competition is good. But let's face it, when it comes down to it being bullying and violent and where people aren't speaking to each other anymore because ideas are stolen, and come on. We were once a very tight-knit community where we all loved each other and we all could get together and have a great time. And I'm seeing that that's something that's broken down over the last 5 years. And I'd like to see us go back to that. But with all these fundraisers and good things that are coming up, let's, hope we can bring this community back together.
Yeah, well, cannabis is known to bond friends and like-minded people, right? So, and back to your first thought there about the consumption lounges, right? Or that's the word we're going to use, or their term that they're going to use. But I think they're going to see, like, especially in BC, I don't know about the rest of the provinces, but especially here, I think they're going to see the need for places similar to alcohol bars, right? Like a place to go and socialize and consume your cannabis. They may have stipulations that are going to say that you can't sell cannabis, just like cannabis culture used to be before they added the dispensaries and the dab bars, etc. I think maybe that would be the first steps towards having vapor lounges open up and consumption lounges being available. And I think it's going to take cities like Kelowna or Cranbrook or Nelson or Victoria or wherever. It's going to take one of these cities to do it again. And I know they had the green ceiling in Victoria, and she faced so much trouble there, Ashley, right? And and ended up closing, and that was just so heartbreaking because we were just there in November, and it wasn't even a week or two later that I read on Facebook that she had closed her business. And it was just so sad to see that she didn't have the support of all the people in Victoria that would stand behind her and fight to keep that vapor lounge open.
Yeah, but she's taken another step, that girl. She hasn't shut herself down. Now she's doing safe consumption. So she's a warrior, Ashley Roundtree.
Oh, I agree.
That woman is a warrior. Yeah.
I agree with that, but I just meant for the city itself, like to protect that, she should have been able to tap into the resources of the people that use it, her customers, and the people that just smoke cannabis that realize what an asset it is to the city, right?
Yes.
And they should have fought a little harder. And it's just like Kelowna. Like, I lived there for 18 years, and there's no vapor lounge there. Like, I wanted to open one too.
Yeah.
But finding the right location, especially in Kelowna, because real estate is so valuable.
Right.
Right? Not here. There's so many vacancies. Like, you could find places to open vapor lounges in Vancouver. I know it.
Yeah.
In other cities, you can't. Like, they just don't even have the facility available.
Right. I know it's like it was here. Yeah, we need to find places that are down, like, and that's like I said, I had, a couple places here that we had kind of looked at, and one was really, would have been ideal, but, it's a cost effective thing, and whether we can get into it and actually run it without having to be shut down after we put and invested all this money into it. So that being said, the city here hasn't said no. They just have told us we have to wait until the province comes out with more specifics. I have another girlfriend here that went for a dispensary licensing from the city, and this is what they did. They told her to go, she could have a dispensary in Cranbrook if the RCMP signed off on it. Well, the RCMP are not going to sign off on a dispensary. It's not within their jurisdiction to do so. So that's how the city of Cranbrook's handling anybody who wants to open a dispensary. They're telling them to go off to the RCMP and get them to sign off on it when they know that the RCMP aren't going to.
Yeah. Right. Hey.
It's a good way of diverting, you know what I mean? Diverting their responsibility. And that's what I'm finding here. So, like I said, it's a matter of time before somebody just says, I'm not asking permission anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. It won't be me, but it will be somebody.
Right.
And hopefully they come out, do it quickly.
And that's always been like Dana's advice to people. They're always saying, well, when it's legal, I'm going to da-da-da-da, right? And he's like, don't wait. You know, and I heard him say that this year, last year, the year before, don't wait. And like to people, like, do it now. Like, now's the time. And it was the time last year. And so now this year it's even more time to stand up and open new businesses and take those risks. And hopefully, you know, that we're all going to come out better in the end. And we're
on the good side of things.
That we've started, or they started against us, right?
Absolutely.
That's more like it.
Yeah, the battle they begin with us.
You know?
Yes.
Like,
okay, my dear. Well, that's the show. We've been yapping for an hour already. It just went by so dang quick.
I know.
We'll have to have you back again. I know we'll have you back again. We do this every week, so we can have you back again, no problem. Again, I'd like to thank my sponsors, who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, with the Mum Cup coming up again, 23rd, 24th, and 25th of February. I'd like to have a quick shout out to my friend Murray Coates, who's sitting, hopefully listening to us. Hi, Murray. He's visiting us from Australia, and he'll be at the Mum Cup this year. He's just got all kinds of really cool stuff lined up, and it's going to be interactive. So you will be able to join online and be able to watch. It'll be live streamed. There's online kits that you can get. There's all kinds of great things that are going to be happening, and that's in 2 weeks in Vancouver. My other sponsors go ahead.
They're going to be shuttling people. The shuttles are going to be free, right, to go to the Mum Cup this year.
Right, because the venue had issues with a fire, so they've had to move the venue. The venue is not in downtown Vancouver this year, so there will be shuttles that are going to be going from Cannabis Culture Magazine headquarters downtown at 309 Hastings, and they will be shuttling people back and forth from the venue. So that's something that you don't have to worry about. Once you get there, you will get to the venue. Don't worry. Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners, if you need a medical licensing, you can reach out to me or Ross Middleton out in Bellevue, Ontario. We do that as well. Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, they've just finished with their bazaars, and they've got all kinds of fun stuff going on out in Nova Scotia all the time. Haley Rose Foundation, Cheryl's working hard all the time with her CBD research. And my producer, Al Rapp, I'd like to thank him as well. So you guys have a great Valentine's Day, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.